I'm Victoria Cooksey, and as I film this, we're just a couple days away from Halloween, so happy Halloween, everyone. In this episode, we're going to be eating some Halloweenish kind of chocolate, and if you stick around past that, you just might hear the magic ghost voice reading a bit from The Legend of Sleepy Hollow while the flames continue. So be sure to stick around to the end. Now, what we're going to be tasting today is I have a pumpkin spice latte bar by Dick Taylor. I've got OCHO, which is a variety pack. We'll talk about that. I've got Chocolove's peanut butter and dark chocolate bites. And I've got some River Sea chocolate minis. Sounds deliciously delightful and spectacular. All right, shall we taste some chocolate? Of course we should. First up, we're going to be trying River Sea Chocolate's mini bites. And they start from like 25 pieces, and then they have ones that are bigger than that. And they're all bite-sized, 5 grams of chocolate. And when they arrive, like it comes in a bag like this. I've put some in my magic cauldron cup. And there's, I think, 6 or 7 different flavors. There's like salted caramel, there's a mint, there's a milk chocolate. There is, I think, a Brazil and a Thailand, and I think maybe a Hawaiian sea salt, something like that. So you get a mixed variety. And I just feel like salted caramel seems like the one for me today. And this is really cool because if you're going to be doing trick-or-treating or a party, or you just wanted bite-sized stuff for yourself, this is the easy way to go. And that really does smell like salted, wonderful, gorgeous caramel. And I have had their salted caramel bar before, but I'm just really in the mood for this one. Lovely salt hits your tongue right away. Cream and caramel. Oh yeah. Just like when I was a kid, I start off slow and be like, do I want to go to that first house? And then I'd go to a few houses and I'd get the candy, and then it was all about candy, 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 candy. And that's kind of how I feel about this. Craft chocolate isn't candy, but it sure is good, and it brings back those lovely memories. All right, let's go for another one. Next up is going to be Dick Taylor. This is the pumpkin spice latte bar. Now, Dick Taylor does micro batches every month, so this was the October one. I think it's batch 48 for the micro batches. It's 73% dark chocolate, which I think is their northern blend. Then they've got white chocolate, and there's coffee in here, and there's spices. It's going to be very yummy. And if you happen to hear any strange, spectacular noises in the background, it's not a ghost. It's just my dog, Louie, who's down here out of view chewing on a toy. Or is it? Now, this is going to probably be very pretty. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to spin it and hypnotize you with my spell. Oh yeah. That smells lovely. You get like the cream, you get the spices coming through. This one, it's almost too pretty to eat. Almost. But can things that are pretty be trusted on Halloween? I don't think so. All right, here we go. Ooh. Oh yeah. It is what it says it is. You get all these wonderful spices coming through. There's the creamy white chocolate. There's also a bit of a crunch to it as well, which I'm not sure if that's the coffee or spice, because I'd have to read a little further to really be able to tell you that, but I'd really rather just keep eating it. For Halloween, would you trust a pretty bar or a spooky, scary bar? I don't know, but I might trust this one because it's pretty good. All right, now we're going to actually move out of craft chocolate and move into something slightly not craft chocolate, but I think Halloween encompasses it all. All right, now we're going to be talking about Chocolove's peanut butter chocolate, 55% dark chocolate, Rainforest Alliance, and non-GMO. Now, when I was trick-or-treating as a child, peanut butter cups were my personal favorite. And in fact, I would come home from trick-or-treating and I would take all the chocolatey items out and the fruity, taffy-ish, hard candy stuff and keep them separate, because I did not want flavor transference even back then. So even on that kind of chocolate, maybe I was a budding connoisseur, who knows. So I kind of, since I'm not eating those kind anymore, Chocolove kind of gives me that step up. So if you're like, oh, I want to take a step in a certain direction, this could be a way for you to go. I saw this at my regular grocery store and also at my local co-op. You could order them online, and I'm sure they're available at a lot of other stores. But I like that this particular one's dark chocolate. It kind of adds a little bit more of a sophistication. Although, honestly, I do either kind. Put that over there. Stay. All right. And we're going to open it up. And got the little shape. Ooh. You get, the peanutness is like if you just opened a jar of like crunchy peanut butter, which gives you like extra peanut buttery goodness. But this one's not crunchy, it's smooth. This is when I zone out into thoughts of being the most sincere chocolate eater so that the great pumpkin will come to visit. You got the smoothness of the peanut butter, and it's one you actually can taste the peanut butter. Now, sometimes not so great versions you can't really taste the peanut butter. So you get the peanut butter really good here, but because of the dark chocolate, you're actually getting a chocolate note. And this is really good too because it's going to give someone something that they're familiar with, but again, taking it that next step up, which might then help lead them to craft chocolate down the road. All right, we're going to have one more to try. Last chocolatey bit of goodness we're going to try is, I think you pronounce this OCHO. So you've got it's organic and it's fair trade certified. And to me, this is now kind of especially going into the realm of candy, which you got to have a little bit of that for Halloween. This has one that's got milk chocolate with a peanut butter filling, a dark chocolate with a coconut filling, and a milk chocolate with a caramel filling. And gosh, I'm still in like the caramel mood. I'm in a caramel mood, so I kind of want that, but we'll see which one I happen to notice when I open the bag first. All right, what we got? Oh, caramel's the first one, hee hee. And that's the magic of Halloween. A little bit of milk chocolatiness. It's like soft caramel filling. So because this isn't craft chocolate, you're not going to go diving deep into all kinds of other flavors. But you do have your straight up milk chocolate and your caramel. Sweet, but not too cloying or anything. And it's got a really good filling, so it's smooth and really easy on the teeth. But it's not pouring out either when I bite it, so not too bad. Now, since you've been so good, we're going to move from the chocolate, or maybe I'll just move that way and keep eating chocolate. But we're going to see if Magic Ghost Voice will arrive on cue and read a little bit of the legend of Sleepy Hollow, which happens to be, luckily for us, in public domain. Thanks for watching. Keep on watching for a little bit of this story. Have a lovely Halloween. Follow me on Instagram, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment below. What are your chocolate delights for this weekend and for Halloween Day? All right, Magic Ghost Voice, I leave it to you.
It was the very witching time of night that Ichabod, heavy-hearted and crestfallen, pursued his travels homeward, along the sides of the lofty hills which rise above Tarrytown, and which he had traversed so cheerily in the afternoon. The hour was as dismal as himself. Far below him, the Tappan Zee spread its dusky and indistinct waste of waters, with here and there the tall mast of a sloop riding quietly at anchor under the land. In the dead hush of midnight, he could even hear the barking of the watchdog from the opposite shore of the Hudson, but it was so vague and faint as only to give an impression of his distance from his faithful companion of man. Now and then, too, the long-drawn crowing of a cock, accidentally awakened, would sound far off, with some farmhouse away among the hills. But it was like a dreaming sound in his ear. No signs of life occurred near him, but occasionally the melancholy chirp of a cricket, or perhaps the guttural twang of a bullfrog from a neighboring marsh, as if sleeping uncomfortably and turning suddenly in his bed. All the stories of ghosts and goblins that he had heard in the afternoon now came crowding upon his recollection. The night grew darker and darker. The stars seemed to sink deeper in the sky, and driving clouds occasionally hid them from his sight. He had never felt so lonely and dismal. He was, moreover, approaching the very place where many of the scenes of the ghost stories had been laid. In the center of the road stood an enormous tulip tree, which towered like a giant above all the other trees of the neighborhood, and formed a kind of landmark. Its limbs were gnarled and fantastic, large enough to form trunks for ordinary trees, twisting down almost to the earth and rising again into the air. It was connected with the tragical story of the unfortunate Andre, who had been taken prisoner hard by and was universally known by the name of Major Andre's tree. The common people regarded it with a mixture of respect and superstition, partly out of sympathy for the fate of its ill-starred namesake, and partly from the tales of strange sights and doleful lamentations told concerning it. As Ichabod approached this fearful tree, he began to whistle. He thought his whistle was answered, but it was but a blast sweeping sharply through the dry branches. As he approached a little nearer, he thought he saw something white, hanging in the midst of the tree. He paused and ceased whistling, but on looking more narrowly, perceived that it was a place where the tree had been scathed by lightning, and the white wood laid bare. Suddenly he heard a groan. His teeth chattered, and his knees smote against the saddle. It was but the rubbing of one huge bough upon another, as they were swayed about by the breeze. He passed the tree in safety, but now perils lay before him. About 200 yards from the tree, a small brook crossed the road, and ran into a marshy and thickly wooded glen, known by the name of Wiley's Swamp. A few rough logs, laid side by side, served for a bridge over this stream. On that side of the road, where the brook entered a wood, a group of oaks and chestnuts, matted thick with wild grapevines, threw a cavernous gloom over it. To pass this bridge was the severest trial. It was at this identical spot that the unfortunate Andre was captured, and under the covert of those chestnuts and vines were the sturdy yeomen concealed who surprised him. This has ever since been considered a haunted stream, and fearful are the feelings of the schoolboy who has to pass it alone after dark. As he approached the stream, his heart began to thump. He summoned up, however, all of his resolution, gave his horse half a score of kicks in the ribs, and attempted to dash briskly across the bridge. But instead of starting forward, the perverse old animal made a lateral movement, and ran broadside against the fence. Ichabod, whose fears increased with the delay, jerked the reins on the other side and kicked lustily with the contrary foot. It was all in vain. His steed started, it is true, but it was only to plunge to the opposite side of the road into a thicket of brambles and alderbush. The schoolmaster now bestowed both whip and heel upon the starveling ribs of old Gunpowder, who dashed forward, snuffling and snorting, but came to a stand just by the bridge, with a suddenness that had nearly sent his rider sprawling over his head. Just at this moment, a plashy tramp by the side of the bridge caught his sensitive ear of Ichabod. In the dark shadow of the grove, on the margin of the brook, he beheld something huge, misshapen, and towering. It stirred not, but seemed gathered up in the gloom, like some gigantic monster ready to spring upon the traveler. The hair of his affrighted pedagogue rose upon his head with terror. What was to be done? To turn and fly was now too late. And besides, what chance was there of escaping ghost or goblin, if such it was, which could ride upon the wings of the wind? Summoning up, therefore, a show of courage, he demanded in stammering accents, "Who are you?" He received no reply. He repeated his demand in a still more agitated voice. Still there was no answer. Once more he cudgeled the sides of the inflexible gunpowder, and shutting his eyes, broke forth with involuntary fervor into a psalm tune. Just then the shadowy object of alarm put itself in motion, and with a scramble and a bound stood at once in the middle of the road. Though the night was dark and dismal, yet the form of the unknown knight now in some degree be ascertained. He appeared to be a horseman of large dimensions, and mounted on a black horse of a powerful frame. He made no offer of molestation or sociability, but kept aloof on one side of the road, jogging along on the blind side of old Gunpowder, who had now got over his fright and waywardness. Ichabod, who had no relish for the strange midnight companion, and bethought himself of the adventure of Brom Bones with the galloping Hessian, now quickened his steed in hopes of leaving him behind. The stranger, however, quickened his horse to an equal pace. Ichabod pulled up and fell into a walk, thinking to lag behind. The other did the same. His heart began to sink within him. He endeavored to resume his psalm tune, but his parched tongue clove to the roof of his mouth, and he could not utter a stave. There was something in the moody and dogged silence of this pernicious companion that was mysterious and appalling. It was soon fearfully accounted for. On mounting a rising ground, which brought the figure of his fellow traveler in relief against the sky, gigantic in height and muffled in a cloak, Ichabod was horror-struck on perceiving that he was headless. But his horror was still more increased on observing that the head, which should have rested on his shoulders, was carried before him on the pommel of his saddle. His terror rose to desperation. He rained a shower of kicks and blows upon Gunpowder, hoping by a sudden movement to give his companion the slip, but the spectre started full jump with him. Anyway, then they dashed through thick and thin, stones flying and sparks flashing at every bound. Ichabod's flimsy garments fluttered in the air as he stretched his long, lanky body away over his horse's head in the eagerness of his flight.